How's it going, my dreaming people? Dr. Slack and the Slacking Doctor back with another tier list video today, as today we are ranking the tier 2 Pokemon in a Galar Dex Draft League. So this is based on the GDL Galar Defenders League, which is the league that I'm currently actively participating in. Our week 1 battle went up yesterday, so please do check that out. I've basically taken their tiers as sample tiers. There will be some mons that you don't agree with the way they're tiered in this list. There'll be some mons I don't agree with the way they're tiered in this list. But in general, I thought the GDL tiers were pretty solid. You're always going to have discrepancies between leagues, is how it goes. But we're going to use this as our basis, and we're going to rank what I think the best tier 2s are down to the worst tier 2s based on power, roll compression, niche, viability, how easy they are to build around, how easy they are to get the most out of, what their maximum potential is, all that kind of stuff. I did do this for tier 1 Pokemon as well, so if you haven't checked that out, go and check that out. I am recording this straight after work, so if I'm looking a little bit disheveled, a little bit tired, I am, but I love recording these videos, so I wanted to get into it again, and there is going to be some spicy takes in this video. You will not agree with all of my opinions, so let me know down below which opinion do you disagree with the most, which of my opinions offends you the most. I always love to see that, so let's kick off with Valerian Wheezing. I think Valerian Wheezing is no longer a tier 2 Pokemon. I think that or certainly it won't be by the time the next DLC comes out, in my opinion. I think that when pre-DLC, the most recent Crown Tundra, I think it was, right? Or was it Isle of Armor? Maybe it was Isle of Armor. I think it was Isle of Armor. Pre the Isle of Armor DLC, I think it was tier 2 just about. I don't think it is anymore. It's a decent fairy. But actually stop and look at this thing's stats. Like, they're not that great. It has pretty useful abilities in Misty Surge, in Levitate, and in Neutralizing Gas. But, and T-Spikes and Defog is good utility. Will-O-Wisp and Strange Steam's a very good move. If you get those confusions off, it can be very, very handy. But I don't think it's that good all round. Its stats are pretty middling. It reminds me of something like Whimsicott, and I love Whimsicott. Where it has like decent typing, decent support move pool, decent stab options, but ultimately like it's a mid-tier support Pokemon that has a niche on your team, but it's not crazy good. So yeah, I just don't think Weezing's a tier 2. It's not worth for me. Starmie, I think, is these could change. Really, really good right now. It's speed tier. If I wasn't drafting Rain in this league, I 100% would have picked up Starmie in tier 2. I don't think it's a tier 1. I don't, but I think it's very good tier 2. Its speed tier, I think, is 115. It's fantastic. Analytics, so if people switch out, you get a power boost. It's fantastic. Natural cure, so you can switch in on status and be a status absorber and switch out. It's fantastic. So great abilities, great speed stat. I think it's only 100 special attacks, so it's not crazy strong. But I believe it has perfect coverage where it can hit every Pokemon in the game for super effective coverage with one of its moves. So yeah, really, really good. Reflect type is pretty cool. I think that's still in the game. I don't think that got removed. Pretty cool niche for it as well. Obviously, Rapid Spin now giving it a buff in speed is pretty interesting for late game cleaner sets, being able to outspeed Scarfers. So, and heavy duty boot sets on this actually could be pretty funky removal as well. So, in general, I think this thing's fantastic. I think that it's a Pokemon that gets used badly a lot, so it gets slept on. But I look forward to seeing people use this well, because I think it's a fantastic Pokemon. Gyarados, I'm going to put an S tier. I think tier 2 is the most... maybe A tier. I think tier 2 is the most interesting tier in the format, because what you have here is you have Pokemon that are either like very easy to plug in and play and they're just good, or Pokemon that are hard to use but have incredibly high ceilings if used well, and I feel like very much the case with Starmie and Gyarados here. Gyarados, obviously DD, Moxie sets, Scarf Moxie sets, Heavy Duty Boots, DD Moxie sets now, as well as Heavy Duty Boots Intimidate Bulky sets. Again, two great abilities. Good stats, good mixed stats, so you can actually run some special coverage on it, like Flamethrower for Ferrothorn, for example. Power Whip now means you can hit those bulky waters that you couldn't hit before. The removal of Z moves did hurt this thing, but you can still run like Power Herb, Bounce, Power Herb, Fly. I think it's Fly. I don't know if it gets Fly. Power Herb, Bounce you can run. You can still do shenanigans with this to get this flying stab working. Obviously in Dynamax League's broken, but we're not doing Dynamax Leagues here. So this is singles, and we don't Dynamax in singles. So Yeah, I think this thing is again, it's just like Starmie, where you don't see it get picked up all that often unless it's in very big leagues with lots of coaches, and so some of the things that often get overlooked have to be picked up. But I think when you see it used well, it's a fantastic Pokemon and one of the best tier 2s. You just don't see it used that often. That's my take. Politoed goes in here for me. I'm going to get Pelipper while I'm at it. I think Pelipper is the superior rain setter, certainly for offense teams. Defense, we can argue about it all day. I don't think they're tier 2s. I picked up Pelipper in this league in tier 2 because I wanted to draft rain. I understand the sentiment that goes into let's punish weather, let's price weather because weather's very powerful, especially in a restricted decks, so let's make it expensive. I get that logic, but honestly, Pelipper and Politoed just aren't that great. You can get Gigalith in tier 3. I don't think they're any better than Gigalith. I really don't. I think Gigalith is just as good. It's a weather setter, just the same. I think people sleep on Gigalith, which is maybe why. Sometimes Gigalith's tier 4 even. So, yeah, I think these guys are overpriced. I think they're tier 3s. And I think as the format expands and we get more stuff back in the next DLC, they'll drop. On their own, without weather abilities, these things are like tier 4s or 5s. You look at Pelipper without Drizzle, it's horrible. It's a horrible Pokemon. Yes, okay, with Drizzle, it sets weather and it gets 100% accurate Hurricanes and Weather Ball, which is nice. I get that. It doesn't make it better than tier 3, in my opinion, if it's a tier 5 normally. Politoed, again, maybe a tier 4 normally at a push, but realistically without Drizzle, probably tier 5 as well. They're not good Pokemon without their abilities. They're just weather setters, really. Next up, Slowking, really good now. Just like Slowbro, really good. Teleport, really, really good. Hard to break through. I actually have to fight one of these soon in GDL. I think week 3, and I'm not looking forward to facing that with my rain team, but there we go. Yeah, really, really good. Teleport makes regen stuff fantastic. It's somewhere between S and B, and I can't quite think where. Do I think it's better than these guys? I think Slowbro is better, but then I think I'm going to put it top of A. I think Slowking is so splashable on so many teams. It's a really good regen option with other regen mons. Yeah, I think I'm going to put it right at the top of A there. Skarmory goes slap bang in the middle of B for me. Great hazard setter, great defensive typing, obviously only being weak to fire and electric. Sometimes picking up a steel type that doesn't resist rock, sorry, can be a little bit difficult for a draft because rock resists, bulky grounds and bulky fightings. You don't always get those. You might want to pick up an offensive ground, and certainly you usually pick up an offensive fighting. So it can be hard to draft around. You have to be careful when drafting around Skarmory. But its hazard control and stuff's fantastic. Body press makes it less passive. Whirlwind means you can phase out. I think if it got U-turn, this thing would be phenomenal. But for right now, it's just a very solid tier 2. I've seen this in tier 1 in other leagues. Strongly disagree. It still is so exploitable. It still has 4 moveset syndrome. It won't get to run Whirlwind every week, and then you will be able to abuse it with Sub. It's still a complete taunt food. Yeah, it has its weaknesses for sure. Kingdra. I've actually started using Kingdra on my Rain team. It's interesting. I would never touch Kingdra without Rain. Wouldn't go near it without Rain. And with Rain is good, but it isn't easy to get the most out of. Hurricane, obviously a huge buff. Liquidation, pretty nice buff. Flip Turn is pretty cool. But it's so weather dependent. It's not like Excadrill where you don't even need weather. Like, you need rain. Sniper sets are pretty funky, but I don't think they're the best. Just by getting smashed by one the other day. I'm going to put it top of B. I think it's good. I think it's really good, and on the right team, it looks like an A or even higher. It looks as good as Gyarados or Starmie, but you have to draft it on expensive rain here to get anything out of it, and then it takes a lot of team support and yada, yada, yada. So I don't think it's quite as valuable as these two right off the bat. Celebi, I actually think Celebi's phenomenal. I think Celebi's so good. Nasty Plot, Sword Stance for setup options, can't mind as well if you want to go that route. U-turn, Stealth Rocks for utility, really, really nice. Yeah, Celebi, great coverage. Grass plus ground coverage, Earth Plow and Giga Drain or Energy Ball, Leaf Storm, and really nice Scarfer. I think Celebi's fantastic. It does need good team support. I'm going to drop it. I think it's actually better than Slowking. People complain about its 4 times bug weakness, right? Well, Hidden Power's gone. It didn't care too much about Hidden Power because it's bulky. U-turn, just draft around covering your U-turn weakness. And that isn't easy, and you do have to do it. But if you do it, then Celebi will reward you because it's a fantastic Pokemon. Great Grass type, great Psychic type. I'm really torn between A and S. I'm going to just put it top of A for now. I do think it's even better than Slowking. I think it's fantastic. I think it's really good. Crawdon. This is an example of a Pokemon with phenomenal potential, but so often not used well. In Draft League format, I think you can prep for it, and then you can shut it down a little bit better, but its dual stabs are really hard to switch into with a adaptability boost. It does have a viable special attack, I think, at 90, so you can run it mixed. It does have setup options in Sword Stance, and Dragon Dance got access to close combat this generation, which was really nice. Would have loved to have seen this thing get Flip Turn. Banded Flip Turn could have been really cool. But Sword Stance Aqua Jet, of course, is very powerful too. I'm going to put it at the top of B. I think it's better than these guys, but it's a hard mon to get a lot out of. And maybe other people will disagree with me. Maybe I'm showing my offensive leaning here. But I think in the right hands, Crawdon is phenomenal. Nah, I'm overrating it a little bit. Because it's so hard to get the most out of. It's a shame because it has the potential to be better than almost anything on this list, but it's bad speed tier, bad bulk. It needs a lot of team support and the right player to get a lot out of it. Conversely, Milo with Flip Turn now too. Very splashable, very easy fat water type. Throw it on any team you want. I'm actually going to put it in an A tier, probably right behind Gyarados, because it's just so easy to just abuse. Flame Orb and competitive sets pretty funky. Flame Orb Marvel Scale, sets, and then competitive sets, pretty funky. I've seen people use this really creatively and really well. Shout out to Sean, beating us an hour the other week with a DD Milotic. Definitely cool. Definitely a cool Pokemon. Probably arguably better than Gyarados, but I think Gyarados has a higher ceiling. So, Ninetales Alola. Again, we're looking at the weather boys here. Without Hail and Aurora Veil, this thing is not good. It's just flat out not good. Its stats are not good. It's got a good speed tier, I'll give it that. It has nice support options with like Encore and stuff. And actually, Ice plus Fairy baits in Steel types a lot and potentially freeze them with Blizzards. Steel types don't tend to have reliable recovery, so you chip them down as well. It can be offensively good because Blizzard is very, very good move. So 100% accurate Blizzards are nice. Aurora Veil is great as team support. I still think this thing is pretty middling. I'm going to put it about there. Nah, I'm being too... What it can offer a team is so valuable, and I need to respect that even if I think it's a bad Pokemon. So yeah, I'm going to put it top of B. If you want Veil offense and stuff, this is the go-to, and it can be useful offensively. Venusaur on Sun right now, real cool. Weather Ball, Earth Power. I used to think Vileplume was better than Venusaur if I wanted a Grass Poison type to be bulky. Probably still is if you want it to be bulky, but now with Weather Ball and Earth Power, Venusaur is so good in Sun. So good in Sun. The problem is Sun is bad in Draft, and that's tough. So I'm actually going to put it in C. It's going to be our first C, because without Sun, it isn't good. And Sun is so... It isn't a tier 2 without Sun. It flat out is it's a tier 4 without Sun, in my opinion. Some people say 3, I disagree. Without Sun, it's a tier 4, maybe even a tier 5. It's not good without Sun. But with Sun, it's so powerful. The problem is Sun is so bad in Draft format that it's hard to say it's as good as something like Kingdra, which is so good in Rain, when Rain is so much more viable. Next up, Lucario, real slept on mon. I had it in my PGBL championship run, loved it, but that was with Z moves. I think again it's Crawdon, but yeah, I think it's like Crawdon to me. It's like the same thing. Huge potential, but very hard to pull off. Better speed tier, better mixed attacking stats, not outright as strong as Crawdon off the bat. Nasty Plot plus Sword Stance gives it great setup options, great priority, Bullet Punch, E-Speed, Vacuum Wave. Don't think it gets Mach Punch, but it might do. Definitely very good, great coverage and stuff. It's just frail and hard to get right on a team, and it isn't the steel type that most teams want, so you tend to double up on steel types if you pick it up. Hippowdon. I think Hippowdon's S tier. This is tough. So the reason I think Hippowdon's S tier is because not only does it give you Weather Sport, which is fantastic, Hippowdon is probably the best bulky ground. Gliscor maybe. Yeah, Gliscor maybe. I'm going to put it there. It's so good. It's so fat. The problem is all of the electric types that have coverage have Grass Knot as coverage, which really hurts Hippowdon. So, but like if you're facing something like, you know, a Dracozolt, Why bother? Why bother bringing your Dracozolt? There's a Hippowdon. Such a reliable Stealth Rocker. Phaser. Yawn is really useful as well. Yeah, it's very good. It's very, very good. And it's so easy. Like, anyone can pick up Hippowdon and have a good time with it. It's such an easy to use Pokemon. Whereas I think like Celebi, Gyarados stuff has higher potential on what they can do. I think Hippowdon just base level is phenomenally strong and yeah, so good. Magnezone, I love. I'm a huge Magnezone fan, but I'm going to have to concede defeat and admit it's not better than the A tiers probably. I would put it around this level, I think. Probably about there. Trapping is really useful for things like Corviknight and Skarmory. Trapping is really useful in general because it forces things to run Shed Shell, which means they don't get leftovers or any other item, which is fantastic. So Magnet Pull, fantastic. Analytic means it's really strong. I'm probably being too... No, I'm not. Analytic means it's really strong. The whole, like, it needed hidden power... lie. This thing did not need hidden power. Yes, hidden power fire is great for Ferrothorn. You play Ferrothorn once a season, it doesn't matter. Great for Scizor. Scizor doesn't want to take a Specs Thunderbolt anyway. It's fine. Hidden power Grass for Quagsire, sure. But when you're not playing a Water Ground type, Analytic Specs Flash Cannon is gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. So I really don't think it needs hidden power as much as most electric types. Fantastic Pokemon. Fantastic Pokemon. I love it a lot. Tangrowth. See, I'm not a big Tangrowth fan, but I do think it's probably near the top of tier 2. I'm looking at the other things and thinking what's better than it that's going to go in S tier. There are better things, so I'm going to put it here. Regen's so good. Bulky Grass, great ground resist, great knockoff user, which is, like, this is one thing. Being able to knock off the thing that you bait in, which is flying types a lot, because a lot of times your coverage is going to be, like, grass move plus ground move, like Earthquake. Luring it in flying types that want to break through you and knocking them off and get rid of their heavy-duty boots so that your Stealth Rocks become more useful is fantastic, and that's something that Tangrowth does so well. Sleep Powder, Stun Spore stuff, fantastic. AV regen sets, really nice on regen cores with Teleport now on regen cores like Slowbro and Slowking. Yeah, Tangrowth's just so good. I hated using it when I used it, but a good Tangrowth player will get so much out of this Pokemon, and I would never try and say anything different. You can see how much I love tier 2 just by how top heavy this is. Togekiss, I love this thing too. Fantastic fairy type, one of the best fairy types in the format in my opinion. Fantastic flying type, great setup options and nasty plot. I think it gets agility, but I've never ran it. Soft boiled wish, so you got 2 recovery options there. Serene Grace, of course, just flinch things down. Broken Scarf set's very viable. I'm going to put it just behind Hippowdon, just ahead of Togekiss, just ahead of Celebi, sorry. Yeah, really, really good Pokemon. All the coverage it needs with Flamethrower and Aura Sphere to hit Dark types and Steel types. Really good Pokemon. Really, really good Pokemon. A good bulk. Speed tier's okay. Alright, first S tier we're going to have. I found this thing incredibly hard to use, but Mamoswine, when used properly, is an S tier Pokemon in this tier 2 list. It is so strong. Its dual stabs are so hard to switch into. I don't think I've ever drafted a team that didn't have Bronzong on it that could check Mamoswine. Like, it just beats everything. And even Bronzong, you come in and you get knocked off. I remember I played OP Jellicent in UBL last season with this thing, and I had to try and check it with the Golisopod, and if you click Stone Edge on my switching with Golisopod, I was dead. I was emergency exited out, and I was done. So, yeah, this thing just has all the moves it needs. Edge Crate coverage, famously good, but Ice plus Ground coverage, also famously good. You know, you got your Kyurem with Ice Beam Earth Power, your Mega Glalie with Return Earthquake. It's the same thing, but stab. And knockoff on this as well, and Stealth Rocks. Oh, really good, really, really good Pokemon. Cannot stress that highly enough. Rotom Heat. I might have to start moving things down, because the more I get into this, the more I realize how many fantastic Pokemon there are in tier 2. Rotom Heat, I'm going to put at the top of B. I don't think this thing is as good in draft format as it is on the ladder. In the ladder, there's so many steel types on every team that are a threat that this thing's fantastic. Corviknight was running rampant before DLC, Megian, and now, etc., etc. In draft league format, you know, if your opponent's steel type is a fucking Escavalier, it won't matter that much, right? Escavalier's fine, or a Forretress, it doesn't really matter that much. So, it's still great, but it doesn't represent the same value that it represents in OU, because you don't have a Megiana matchup ever, but certainly not every week. So, yeah, still a good defogger, still great with heavy-duty boots, but in my opinion, outclassed by its big brother here, Rotom Wash, because unlike in OU, this thing's typing is actually better here, not having to check as many fairies and stuff. It's typing meaning it can hit ground types, so I want to switch in for super effective, unless they are like, again, like a Quagsire with Water Absorb or something. This thing's dual stab's really hard to handle, great defogger. Doesn't have to run heavy duty boots, so you can actually run leftovers on it, which is really nice, as well as other items like Trick Scarf and stuff. So I'm going to put it there because I do think as the generations have gone on, it's maybe got worse. And one of the big problems right now is that in a Dracovish metagame, everyone has a Water Absorb mon. So they do often have a Seismitoad, a Quagsire, a Gastrodon. They're getting picked up in every league. So people are drafting things to try and handle Water, Dracovish, so often you're coming up with less good matchups than you would have had previously, where those mons might have got overlooked. Dracovish really shaped this metagame. It's quite annoying. Next up, Dugtrio. Dugtrio is a tough one, because again, trapping is never bad, but Dugtrio without its trapping is just like a very like average tier 4 Pokemon, like 120 speed, 100 attack. It's perfectly okay ground type, but it's piss frail. It gets some Stealth Rocks, it can do some shenanigans that way, Final Gambit, Memento, that kind of stuff. I do think it's better than these guys just with trapping though, so I'm actually going to put it probably here. Trapping is just so valuable, and its stats are okay. Like, you will have games where you can clean up in the end game just with the speed tier and reasonable attack stat if you're like a Bandit set, for example, and your opponent doesn't have any priority left. But it's not great. It's definitely not phenomenal. I mean, it's a round 1 pick, but it's definitely not phenomenal. So I'd drop it there. It's very, very niche, and when you pick it on the right team, its niche is invaluable. So that's why it goes that high. Trapping's trapping. Seismitoad, if it wasn't for Dracovish, this thing wouldn't be a tier 2. To be honest, it still shouldn't be a tier 2. I drafted it again in this league. It's outrageously expensive. It's not better than like Gastrodon or Quagsire outside of getting Stealth Rocks, and they get reliable recovery, which in of itself is very valuable. So I honestly think like Swampert, Quagsire, Gastrodon, Seismitoad are all much of a muchness to me. I kind of like Swampert the best if it wasn't for Dracovish, but yeah, I think it's a tier 3 at best, maybe a tier 4. It's just because Quagsire's around and because it was at one point reigning supreme in OU because of, not Quagsire, Dracovish. It was reigning supreme in OU because of Dracovish that is considered a tier 2, but it's not a tier 2. And yes, I spent this much on it because I needed it, right? I had Rain. I wasn't facing Dracovish and Rain without Seismitoad, but it's not a tier 2. It's just not that good. It's just not. Scolipede. Interesting to me. Scolipede I feel like has a bunch of potential, but I only ever used it with Z moves, and I don't know how good it is without Z moves. I think it feels very similar to like Crawdon, Lucario to me. See, Speed Pass, of course, banned, so you can't baton pass speed with it. Sash Hazard Lead is really, really good with Speed Boost. In general, Speed Boost sweepers are really powerful, and I don't want to underestimate it. So I'm going to put it here just ahead of Crawdon because I think it's easier to pull off than Crawdon, but has similar sort of ceiling. It's not as splashable as like a Skarmory, and it maybe doesn't have the raw power of like Kingdra on a Rain team. So, but it is really good. Heavy Duty Boost is nice and stuff. It is really good. This is such an interesting Pokemon, Crocodile. So I have never been the biggest Crocodile fan, but everyone loves Crocodile, and I've got to try it sometime to find out what all the fuss is about. Scarf Moxie is great, Intimidate is great, it's a great Stealth Rocker. I remember when I played Visually, I don't know how you say his name. That's really bad, isn't it? Visually, I always get this confused. Week 1 of PGBL, and he really threatened me with this thing. It was really tough to prep for and to go up against. So I'm going to drop it in A tier, but where in A tier? Probably the bottom of A tier. I don't think it's better than the other guys here. That will probably be a controversial opinion. Probably going to get some disagreement there. This is Zen mode only, Galarian Darmanitam. I really don't know. I didn't want to include this thing, but it was on the list, so I did. I'm just going to whack it like top of C. It's like a worse Darmanitan to my brain without having access to both abilities, because its Zen mode is better, but Ice is kind of worse. Is it kind of worse? I guess not, but it doesn't get Sheer Force. That's the thing. Its Zen mode is better, but it doesn't have the instant breaking power of Sheer Force Darmanitan, so I think it's marginally worse. Yeah. Regular Darmanitan now gets Trick. Really, really cool. Really, really cool. I'm going to put it like here, it's very similar to Crawdon to me, but just easier to abuse. Like, it's a very strong wall breaker. Crawdon, I think, is better if played well, but anyone can use Darmanitam. You just put a Choice Scarf on it and click Flare Blitz or U-turn 10 times. It's very easy, and very, very powerful. So, yeah, it's just so strong. And Trick is an amazing, amazing move for it, because you can trick, like, that Toxapex that wants to come in on you. And you're in a good spot. So yeah, I think it's really good. I just don't think this one, without Sheer Force, it's not as strong. Electrical Crash misses on like Flare Blitz. Does flinch though. I don't know. I want to see a good Zen mode Darmanitam player prove me wrong, but for right now, it's going to stay there. Reuniclus. I'm going to put an S tier. This might be a hot take. I think Reuniclus is phenomenally good. So versatile. Acid Armor, Calm Mindsets, with stored power now, I think it gets. Fantastic. Magic Guard, incredible ability, good on like weather teams, which is what I drafted it on as well. Ignores hazards. We've seen how good Magic Guard is with Clefable in OU. Regenerator, fantastic. Trick Room, Life Orb, Magic Guard sets to sweep is one of my favorite sets with it. Fantastic. Future Sight sets, really hard to handle. I used AV, Regen, Future Sight sets. Eric built me one of them for UBL last season. It did a lot of work. I think that was against Root. Yeah, and maybe, honestly, I think it's easier to use than Mamoswine, so I'm going to put it ahead of that. That's going to be a hot take. People are not going to like that take. But I really think that. Amoonguss, I think, is maybe a tier 3. It's very close. Maybe with the next DLC, it'd be a tier 3. I think it used to be a tier 3 last gen. I don't think it got that much to make it not a tier 3 now. Regen's fantastic at the moment, so fine. I've always thought Amoonguss was a great tier 3, so I'll put it there for now. But honestly, you could move it down to tier 3 very soon, even now. It's really nice for things like Urshifu, the water one especially, you know, getting the Rocky Helmet chip and stuff, so it definitely has a good place in the metagame. I don't know if it can take hits from Dracovish, I doubt it, but if it can take 2 from Dracovish, that's pretty nice. Spore, of course, is always good, so yeah, decent mon for sure. Arcanine was... I didn't like Arcanine in UBL. It was one of the points. Gudra and Arcanine were 2 on my team that I wish I just hadn't picked up. I wish I'd picked up like spent my points on like Mandibuzz instead of Vullaby and stuff in UBL. I thought I'd be able to abuse like banded sets more than I did. I really struggled to get the best out of those. I thought heavy duty boot sets would be good. Now, I didn't have access to Toxic or Teleport at the time that I used it, and I do think they both buff it a bit. I think Arcanine's very overrated, though. I'll be honest. I know Sean loves this thing. I know people love this thing. I think it's not that great. I'm actually just going to put it just ahead of Lucario, I think. Because I think it's easier to use than Lucario. But I don't think it's as good with a good player. But it represents more value, I think, in how splashable it is. Hexorous is really good now. With First Impression, banded sets are even better than they were before. Scarf sets have always been pretty decent. DD sets have always been pretty decent. I don't think it was super reliant on Z moves, although it liked them. I did like them a lot. It was nice to be able to land your Iron Tails by clicking Z. But I still think this Pokemon goes right to the top here. I don't think it's as easy to use as these guys up here. No, I'm going to put it up here. It's really good. It's really good. But, like, it's just a weird Pokemon, Hexorous. It's a weird Pokemon. It has the potential to be better than a lot of these guys. I guess it's kind of like a Gyarados. Maybe I'm underrating it. Maybe I see it very much like Gyarados. Yeah, I'm gonna bump it. I'm gonna put it there because it has huge potential. Mienshao, I love Mienshao now. Got close combat, really, really good for this thing. I still prefer Reckless High Jump Kick. My favorite sets on it were Banded Reckless High Jump Kick with Knockoff, U-Turn, Poison Jab, something like that. Really, really fierce Wall Breaker with Reckless, but regen stuff's still cool. Again, it goes with these wall breakers. For me, it's as easy to use as like a Darmanitam, so I'm going to put it around the same level as Darmanitam. It's slightly more versatile, arguably, so I'm going to put it a bit above. Yeah, it's very similar to me. Very similar. Better speed tier, I guess. Next up, Bisharp. Bisharp is a Lucario to a T for me. If you use it well, Bisharp's phenomenal. How often does it get used well? Very, very rarely. It isn't the steel type that you really want on your team. It isn't the dark type that you really want on your team because it's not fat, so it doesn't like coming in on psychic types, and it doesn't like coming in on flying types or anything else you want steel to resist. Fairy doesn't resist that. So it's much like Lucario where you probably want another steel with it. But play it well, and this thing's so strong. Sucker Punch can be prepped for in Draft League, so you can bring Sub, Protect, Will-O-Wisp, stuff like that. So I'm actually just going to move it down a tier because I think it's easier to counter prep than Lucario. I think this is a tier 3 long term and will get moved down probably. Yeah, I think it's a tier 3 after the next DLC probably. So I think a lot of these guys are too. Mandibuzz. We're going hot takes, boys. Yeah, Mandibuzz is possibly the best defensive flying type in the format right now. I'm trying to think of one that's better, and I'm really struggling. Best Dragapult check, realistically. Actually, I got smashed by Dragapult when I used it, so that's not true, because Dragapult is too fucking versatile. But it's good. It's good. It helps with Dragapult. It helps with a bunch of things. Mandibuzz is so fat. Heavy duty boots are so nice. U-turn, foul play, knockoff, defog, etc., etc. Mandibuzz has been doing what Mandibuzz does for generations, but now it does it with some nice boots on those talons. So, yeah, I think this thing's one of the best things in tier 2, for sure. It kind of is like Hippowdon, but with pivot options, with knockoff, and yeah, so good. So good. Cobalion. Oh, everything's just going in B tier. Cobalion's really good, but it isn't that strong. So you need to play Cobalion carefully. It's got great bulk on the physical side especially. You can get Rocks Up well with it. You can Volt Switch out with it. It's really versatile with Calm Mind and Swords Dance, plus good coverage options. It's definitely... I'm going to put it here. I'm actually going to go one more. It's very easy to use, I think, for me, for Cobalion, but it has the same drawbacks of being a steel type that doesn't resist flying or fairy, so it's hard to draft around. You're going to want to pick up like bulky poisons or maybe even a secondary steel with it. But it's really good when used right, and its item slot is what's interesting to me on Cobalion, because you can run so many resist berries to catch things to get good damage on them. You can run, there's just so many options, weakness policy sets. Like, I think it's a really cool Pokemon and not used as well as it should be a lot of the time. Diggersby, talking about really cool Pokemon, Lost Return, which is definitely a nerf, but it's still, Earthquake was really its primary stab. Knockoff is so good for getting rid of heavy duty boots. Do not underestimate the power of a ground type with Knockoff. I've said it many times and I'll keep saying it. It's really nice this generation. U-turn makes great pivot. You can put this thing onto offensive pivot cores and it'll be fantastic. Swords Dance into quick attack is really, really nice. I'm going to keep rising with this thing. I think I prefer it to Crocodile. I think it's better than Crocodile. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to put it about here with below Milotic, because Milotic's easier to use. I loved using this thing in UBL a couple of seasons back. Would definitely draft it again, even without Body Slam. Even without Return, because you just use Body Slam. So, good Pokemon. Good Pokemon. Sylveon. Again, one of the best fairies around, one of the best wish passers around. I've never drafted it. I've never really been taken by it. Mystical Fire is really nice for it. It's tough, man. This is tough. I definitely think it's an A tier pick. I'm going to put it just above Milo. I've seen people use this really versatile as well, like spec sets. I think my man Platinum Howler, I think, used it in a really versatile way once when I played against him, I feel like. But I can't remember the set, but I remember being like, wow, that was heat. I think it was him. Really cool. I remember my man Jack smashed me with Quick Attack into my Hydreigon once. That was funny. Yeah, definitely premium fairy type. Speaking of premium fairy types, Primarina, the premium fairy type, has grown on me a lot as the 2 generations have gone on. Flip Turn is super nice on it because this thing's force of switches. It's so strong with specs, Hydro Pump plus Moonblast, and then you can Flip Turn. Really nice. Really nice. Very good Wall Breaker. I kind of see it similar to these Wall Breakers here, maybe. Do I really think Crocodile is better than, like, Mienshao and Darmanitan? I think this is weird. My tiers are looking weird to me, because I feel like half of my stuff in tier B could be in tier A, because I just got this little corner here of Wall Breakers that I feel like they almost could be. No, they're not as good as those guys, are they? But is Gyarados? Maybe I've overrated Gyarados. Yeah, I think I have, because I ranked it so early. But I do think it has a higher ceiling than the rest of these guys, so I'm gonna put it like here. Oh, this is hard. This is oh no, because it has such a high ceiling. I'm not consistent, so who gives a fuck? I don't care. Lycanroc Dusk, again, premium Wall Breaker right now. I actually think this thing's fantastically good with the Cell Rock plus Stone Edge. Tough Claws, really, really good. Really, really, really good. I think it's similar to Hexorous in my brain, but a better speed tier, but worse. Actually, better coverage and stuff. I'm gonna keep going. I think this guy's like the best wall breaker in the tier, barring Mamoswine. Ooh, that is a hot take. Do I really think that? Or am I just chatting shit? I kind of do. I think it's so good. Huh. There's going to be so many angry comments. Silvally, big trash. Big trash. Silvally's not good. So I don't care how versatile it is. I respect so many people that love this Pokemon, by the way. I know, like, Root, Vivid, all those people love this thing, and I love them. I think Silvally's garbage. I don't like it at all. I know Aquarius loves it as well. I just think it's bad. I think it's a tier 3. I think it's better than some of these guys, though, so I'll put it, like, here. Better than some of these guys, only one. Yeah, I think it's not good. Speaking of thinking it's not good, Mimikyu I've always thought was bad, but now with that Z moves, I think it's even worse. Yeah, and the fact that it takes damage now when you break its disguise is just like, and you need Life Orb to do any damage. You know that this thing's highest stat, I think, is its Spadef. Like, it's crap. It's absolute crap, especially without Z. You want to run Life Orb to do damage, and then you're going to die very quickly, because by the time your disguise is popped, you've taken 2 turns of Life Orb, it's over. It's just not good. It's just not good. This is S tier, but how high up S tier? Court Change is fucking obnoxious, because, like, you don't want to bring webs against this thing, you don't want to bring spikes against this thing in case you get Court Changed back. Banded sets are really strong. Pyro Ball is a broken move. It's just Game Freak. Like, Eric always talks about this thing and how Game Freak are just like, oh, we want to make a new mascot Pokemon. Let's just give it broken moves, like Pyro Ball plus Court Change. Like, why did you do that? Why did you break this Pokemon? Obviously, this is non-Libero. This is Blaze only, but Cinderace still is. I think this is what I speak about fashions in Draft League, and I think Cinderace is very in fashion right now, but I think it deserves to be. I think it's that good. I really do. I think it's a fantastic Pokemon. I don't think it's better than the likes of Mamoswine, and I actually think maybe this is a more accurate order. Yeah. Yeah. I agree with myself. Good. Barraskewda, only good with Rain. Don't draft this thing without Rain. I wholeheartedly do not believe it's good without Rain. With Rain, your liquidations get powered up, so you're actually really strong. And your speed tier is incredible because you can outrun things like Terrain Holucha. And that's what gives this thing value to my brain. Without that, you're just like a very fast, quite strong Pokemon. Like, I understand that, you know, it's like Megalopony type stats. That's the first thing that I heard. I think it was Dean was like, it has Megalopony type stats when it got released. But it has much worse stab. Like, the reason that something like Lopunny is great is because Return plus High Jump Kick in previous generations had no switch-ins with Scrappy. This thing has so many switch-ins. And in a Dracovish metagame, which Draft League is right now, it's not good. It's not good because everyone has a Dracovish check, which means everyone has an easy Barraskewda check. Whew. If you think that Seismitoad walls Dracovish, it really walls Barraskewda. So, yeah, I don't think it's great in this metagame at all, unless you draft it on Rain. Now, if you do draft it on Rain, it's pretty good. So I'm going to put it right next to Venusaur, where without Rain, it's not great, but with Rain, it's really good. And Venusaur's that whole thing without Sun, you know, so I think they're very comparable to my brain. I think this thing is pretty bad. People love, I can't remember his name, Hatterene? I think it's Hatterene. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Magic Bounce, sure, but it's so slow and pretty frail on the physical side that you ain't switching this in on my Rhydon in case I fucking Earthquake or Stone Edge you, because you're going to get 2-hit KO'd. You aren't switching this in on my Cobalion because I'll just Iron Head the crap out of you. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I think Fairy's not the best Magic Bounce type because a lot of Hazard setters in Draft League format are Steel type, so that straight away is not great. T-Spike setters are Poison type, so that's not great. On top of that, it's physically frail. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. Good coverage-ish, but it doesn't get Moonblast. Anything that doesn't get Moonblast, I don't think it gets Moonblast, right? I think it's Dazzling Gleam. It's not even that strong stab. Why is it good? Someone tell me why it's good. Nuzzle? I like Nuzzle. Put it like there. I honestly prefer Bisharp. I just don't get the Hatterene love. Tier 3 for me. I'm going to keep going. It's tier... yeah, and you know what? You're going there as well, to be honest. Tier 3 for me. This thing also yeah, I think it's better. I like Prankster Screens. I like Prankster T-Wave. I like Prankster everything. Prankster's great. Decent support move pool. Prankster Bulk Up plus Sucker Punch is decent. I think this thing's best movesets are its offensive movesets, but it's still especially very frail. It's still slow. It's still decently strong, but you can outplay Sucker Punch if you prep for it, like we've already discussed. With Bisharp, it's just, yeah, worse Bisharp, really. It's not a great fairy type. It's okay. It's fine, but again, I think long term it'll become a tier 3. I think I don't know. I don't play in many Nat Dex leagues that are tiered anymore. They're all points, so I don't know where this would be in a Nat Dex league. But for me, it's like a tier 3 in a Nat Dex league. I don't think it's great. So, yeah, okay. This is. I feel like people are going to be mad about this one. Oh well. I like it. Let me know what you guys think below. Which one made you most mad? I like recording these videos. If you would like me to do it for tier 3 as well, obviously each one gets longer and longer because there's more and more Pokemon in each tier. But if you'd like me to do it for tier 3, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We have a subscriber Discord link down in the description. If you've made it this far into the video and you're not already subscribed, please consider subscribing. You made it this far into this one, you might like some of the others too. Anyway, I'm going to end it here, guys. Thank you so much for loafing around with me, and I'll catch you again next time.